There are crimes that chill you to the bone, not only because of the violence involved, but because of the sheer senselessness of the act. The brutal murder of James Berry is one of those cases. His story is a reminder of how trust can be broken in the most violent way, how lives can be shattered in a single night, and how a community can be left asking why such cruelty was unleashed on an ordinary man. This documentary takes you deep into the events surrounding James Berry's death, exploring the tragedy, the investigation, and the aftermath that left scars no sentence could heal. James Berry was not a man who lived a life of danger. He was described by friends and neighbors as quiet, polite, and dependable. He worked hard, cared deeply for his loved ones, and was known for his gentle nature. He was the kind of man who would help a neighbor with groceries or lend a hand if someone's car broke down. Nothing about his life suggested that violence was waiting for him. Yet, on the night he died, his life came to a horrific and sudden end. The events unfolded in 1994 in New York City. Berry was 44 years old, a man of simple habits who had fallen on difficult times, but still carried himself with dignity. He was seen around the neighborhood, greeting familiar faces, often keeping to himself. But his routine became his vulnerability. He crossed paths with people who saw him not as a neighbor or fellow human being, but as a target. The night of his murder began like any other. Berry was making his way home, not knowing that he was being followed. His killers were a group of young men, restless, angry, and looking for trouble. They were not driven by personal grudges or deep motives. Instead, they were driven by cruelty and the thrill of violence. That is what makes this case so hard to comprehend. It was not just murder. It was brutality for its own sake. Witnesses later testified that the group cornered Berry, surrounding him. Words were exchanged, but they quickly escalated into violence. Berry had no chance to defend himself. He was struck, beaten, and stabbed in a frenzy of rage. The attack was so ferocious that investigators later struggled to count the number of wounds. When it was over, James Berry lay lifeless, his body left behind in a scene so brutal that officers arriving at the site were stunned into silence. Nothing. The discovery of his body sent shockwaves through the community. Neighbors who knew Berry could not believe that such violence had happened to him. He was not someone involved in crime. He was not someone who sought conflict. For many, that made the crime even more horrifying, because if it could happen to him, it could happen to anyone. The brutality was random, senseless, and devastating. Police quickly launched an investigation. The scene offered few immediate clues, but witnesses who had seen a group of men near the area came forward. Through interviews, descriptions, and street knowledge, detectives began piecing together the identities of the suspects. The men were young, some still teenagers, yet they carried out the killing with a level of violence that shocked even seasoned investigators. When the suspects were apprehended, the details of the crime became clearer. They admitted to targeting Berry for no reason other than that he was vulnerable. They attacked him because they could. The confession horrified the public. It was not about money, not about revenge, not even about drugs or gangs.